So our topic this week is search and analytics, or in more colloquial terms, I could call this marketing with Google, which is the search component, as I'm going to talk about in this video. In the second video, we're going to talk about analytics, which is how to measure the data that comes out of your search engine marketing activities. So a search engine, as we know, is a tool that we use to search websites, to search the World Wide Web. It is really just a catalog or an index over various websites that you can find online. We know search engines basically only as Google, but different parts of the world have different search engines that will be more prominent within a certain region or country around the world. So a search engine contains three basic components. First, you have the crawler, or the spider, or the bot as we call it, which is an algorithm. So when you type in a search term in Google, Google's algorithms will then search not actually the internet, it will search a index or the Google's catalog, Google's codified index of the internet, and it will then return your search engine results page, which is the Google search results that you find. So the popularity of a search engine is based on how relevant these results will be for consumers and also how quickly they are produced. If you want to know more about how Google works, you can click on the link on this slide. So when you type in your search term in Google, you're activating Google's ranking algorithms, and they will then return your search page for you. And based on the location and frequency of the keywords that you typed in on that page, that will determine the ranking, and so will the content in general, also the quality and the relevance of the websites of your for your search term, and also the number of links that link into your website will also determine the ranking of it, and so will the number of click-through rates, or how popular that website is. There's a whole range of other algorithms that also goes into how this is ranked. More than 200, in fact, is what Google say. So here's a definition of search engine marketing from David Shaffe's digital marketing textbook. So as we can see, search engine marketing is about promoting your organizations through a search engine, or through Google, and it's about delivering relevant content and then encouraging people to click through your website. So as I said initially, it's marketing with Google. So search engine marketing's got two main techniques. One is search engine optimization, which has to do with your organic ranking on Google, and the other one is the paid search marketing, which is pay-per-click sponsored listings or ads with Google, if you want, which is what Google wants you to do. So search engine optimization is about your structured approach to increase or improve your Google ranking. Everyone wants to be number one on Google, but that also depends on what keywords you want to be number one for. And just so we all know what we're talking about, here's an example of a relatively frequent search term, so flights to Sydney. And as we can see in the orange box, that's your organic reach, that's your search engine marketing featuring there further down on the website. That was a desktop search. If you look at mobile, we can see that search engine optimization alone is no longer enough. You need to run in parallel with a pay-per-click strategy to be successful. So only ads will show on your mobile screen, and you need to do significant scrolling further down before you actually get to the organic search. And this has implications because people are lazy, they don't want to keep scrolling, so they will then end up clicking on the paid ads instead. Now, according to Jason McDonald in his SEO Fitness Workbook, which is a book, by the way, that I strongly recommend. If you go onto Amazon, you can even read my review of that book. I like it because it's very hands-on, and it has a good combination of rigor, theory, and also practical implication, and go down to enough details for you to grasp. It's available on Amazon and also Audible if you want to listen to it instead. Jason McDonald looks at 7 steps, and as with everything else in marketing, it starts with strategy. It starts with actually defining your goals. What is it that you're trying to achieve? So you need to look at your website, okay, and look at, okay, well, what is it that we're actually trying to get people to do? You know, are we trying to get them to buy this product? What sort of product is that? What is that product all about? And that is the start before you sort of get anywhere further. You need to figure out what are we, what business are we, what are we actually trying to, what behaviors are we trying to get consumers to do. And once you know what you want consumers to do, then the next thing is to identify the keywords. I'm going to look at that a bit more in the following slide. And the third step there is you got to do your what is called in nerd speak on-page SEO. So your website needs to, well, speak Google. First of all, the website needs to be, have content that speaks to humans, but to some extent you also need to speak Google. And by that I mean things such as HTML tags, your metadata description, and your image tags, all these sort of small things, because Google works, well, it works for people, but there's also a machine, an algorithm that reads these websites, so you need to make sure that, you know, your website is friendly for both. There are some easy analytical tools that will help you to diagnose and improve these things, and we will work on those in the workshop as well. And next, of course, as we know, content is king. So you got to create quality content that is good for both Google and humans. So it's got to, you know, have a purpose. It has to be relevant for consumers, things that people actually want to see. But it also has to be current and up to date, because Google likes things that is rapidly changing and rapidly evolving. So having links into your blog, into your website from a blog, for example, that is current and up to date, can greatly help with that. And next is your off-page SEO. That has to do with leveraging social media, building links, and also focusing on where your business is located, and actually producing content that is local and that relates to the stuff that is around the business. So you need to have quality in links to your website. So there needs to be websites that will connect directly to your website. So if you're featured on various types of review sites, for example, then it's important that you build links that goes into there as well. You need to have relevant, up-to-date strategies with your social media, and when your social media content is up to date, generating positive reviews and so forth, and generating click-through rates from your social to your website, then that will also improve your SEO ranking. And then, of course, measure. You need to understand how the strategies that you put in is actually leading to results. So you know, what were your Google ranking when you started, for example? Make a note of that, and then do your implementations and see whether or not it's actually improving in the way that you want it to improve. And finally, learn, never stop learning. Things are always evolving, always changing, and we need to stay on top of things. You need to have your trusted sources where you can go to for new and updated information, and we will provide a few in the workshop this week. Okay, so here is some sort of before you start type of advice. If you are doing a brand me, then or also if you're working on a business website, make sure that business is actually registered with Google. So that is the sort of absolute first step. Make sure that you register your website with Google. If Google doesn't know about your website, it certainly won't show it up in a search result. So follow the link on the slide here for how to do that. And further all, make sure that you actually index all sub pages. Make sure that all your sub pages is also registered with Google. And once you've done those basic things, you can then start looking at your keyword important keywords for your site. Google offers help with that, so there's a keyword planner that you can use with Google, which is a link to here, and that should be relevant for both your company report and your brand me assignment. So when you do your keyword planning, and there's heaps of good tips about how to do this in Jason McDonald's SEO workbook, but think about the qualifiers. Think about what people are actually searching for. What are the most common searches to find your business? So are they looking for a comparison, for example here, as like compare car insurance? Are they looking for an adjective like cheap? Are they looking for what intended usage? Are they looking for product types? Are they looking for directly at a particular vendor, or is it location based, or is it based on action? Another thing to remember here is that qualifier terms such as best or review and those type of words there's been an explosion in the popularity of those type of keywords in Google. So once you have identified your keywords, you can start doing your on-page optimization, and good content will then boost the ranking, but it's not a matter of just stuffing in the same keyword over and over again, because Google will penalize you for doing that sort of crap. Yes, it helps to have it frequently mentioned, but not repeatedly after each other. So there's a fine line that you need to walk there. If it doesn't sound right when you read it, then it probably isn't right. And as I said, Google's got more than 200 criteria, but the list on the slide here gives you a good indicator of some of the more important ones. So your off-page SEO is also super important. Google really likes and values quality inbound links. So you also have to have a strategy for that. You got to get other sites, you got to partner with other sites and get them to produce links to your website. And a good way to do that is same as you do with your blogs. You provide it for others and then they'll provide it for you. Also create internal links on your website to link to the different pages within your website. Also helps in the rankings. Okay, so when it comes to SEO, we often talk about black hat versus white hat techniques. So let's look at a little bit about what that is all about. So the black hat techniques is all about trying to cheat Google, in that sense, trying to break the algorithms and improve your rankings by doing what Google don't want you to do. One way to do that is to produce hidden content, so stuff in a lot of keywords, write it in white text or place it under a photo and stuff like that. Another way is to stuff your metadata, stuff your keywords, so repeat them over and over again in your meta text. Another way is to have doorway pages, or what we call cloaking, is when you click on a link and it takes you directly to a third-party site. Another way is through link farming, and there's plenty of link farming companies around the world. I think a lot of them is situated in India, where you can go and say, well, we sell you X amount of quality inbound links that will improve your ranking. So these are the black hat techniques. Now the thing with Google is that they don't like spam. So some of the Google algorithm updates, some of the most known one are the Panda, the Penguin and the Hummingbird, and they were all about trying to stamp out these black hat techniques. So when they were introduced, it really upset a lot of Google's search page results, and a lot of the black hat SEO marketers got severely punished by these algorithm updates. So does this mean that SEO is dead? And that particular term, SEO is dead, has been around for, I don't know, since maybe 2012, 13. There's a recent article about it, it's actually a whole sort of series of articles, or a sort of ebook that you can click on the link on the side here. That will tell you what is and what is dead in terms of SEO and what isn't. But in general, these black hat techniques is what Google is continually trying to stamp out, and what they are trying to do instead is to promote the white hat techniques. So proper good quality content, proper good quality inbound links to your website, and also a site that actually provides value, so a low bounce rate, so when people click in on your website they don't immediately exit, but they actually spend a bit of time there. Another thing that is becoming increasingly important these days is that if your website is not optimized for mobile, Google will also punish you. We are using our mobiles more and more to search for stuff on Google, and as such your website has to be optimized for mobile as well. Okay, so your other option to search engine marketing is to do paid search marketing, or pay per click. that's when you pay Google a fee to have your ad featured on the top of the search result. But similar to with SEO, Google will rank when there's a competition of different companies that have paid for an ad, they will rank those accordingly. And every time that you make a search, there's a silent auction that goes on in the background. So depending on how much a company has bid on being on the top there, that will determine what the result will be. So if there's a company you really hate, you can just click on that link, and they will have to pay for the click that you made. So just so we know what we're talking about, in the orange box here, my example with flights to Sydney, we have the ads on the top in the first orange box. The second orange box is Google's own sponsored, which in most product categories Google will have this second box popping up. So in this case they have their own flight subpage, their own sort of flight searching tool. In other cases, you will notice that there's a map coming up there. So these are always, the sponsored ones are always location-based results. And what pops up in that box, location-based, is also really important. And that has to do with your registering your website with Google, so that you know, and also the location of it, so you know it comes up in Google Maps. That's another thing that is super important. So also in the pay-per-click strategy is content networks, and that is contextual ads that are placed on third-party sites. So many websites are making a lot of money for having Google posting, allowed Google to post ads on there, and that's actually part of or up to 1/3 of Google's revenue. If you have some leftover space on your website, you may continue or consider to have a Google ad on there. So finally in this video, mainly because of Google's algorithm changes and the increased importance of mobile and Google's decision to have more ads displayed, we can no longer choose whether we want to do SEO or PPC. You got to have a strategy for both. So the way the PPC works, of course, it's an auction, it's the highest bid, but it's also the quality score. So are people actually doing the behaviors that was intended when they click on these ads and click on these links? What's the click-through rate? What's the bounce rate? And what are the relevance for the keyword? Also plays an important role in how Google will place the ads in the searches of consumers, because at the end of the day, Google will not survive if they keep giving search results for consumers that are not relevant to the things that they search for. So it's important for Google's survival that they, even with the ads, return quality content that consumers are actually looking for. So I'll leave you with that. Next video is about how to look at all this data and make sense of it.